Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 62. You know, it's wild to think that it's already been 2 months since we kicked off Marketing Gone Wild.
I know. It's crazy how time flies when you're having fun uncovering these mind-blowing marketing stories, right?
Absolutely. And today we're doing a little recap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking a look back at some of the most fascinating lessons that we've stumbled upon this past month.
Yeah, we're not going to cover everything, of course.
Of course.
But we've picked out some real gems that we think will give you guys some valuable takeaways and hopefully spark some ideas for your own marketing adventures.
So let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. I want to start with that image of Dean Karnazes, the ultramarathoner, running 350 miles fueled by pizza and cheesecake.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
That's such a vivid metaphor.
Yeah.
For marketing being a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely. It's about pacing yourself and having a strategy.
Right.
You know, just like Dean had to carefully plan his nutrition and energy expenditure for that insane run.
So instead of burning out with these like short bursts of activity, we got to think long term.
Yeah, we're in it for the long game.
Exactly.
Becca?
So like, how do we actually put that into practice? What are some tangible things that we can do?
Well, think about it like this.
Okay.
You know, just like Dean needed that steady intake of pizza to keep him going, we need a consistent flow of valuable content.
So like a content calendar.
Yeah, exactly. A content calendar that's going to deliver value to your audience on a regular basis.
And that ties into another story we covered,
Right.
the one about the British Navy and scurvy.
Oh, yeah.
They had the cure right there, citrus fruit,
Mm-hmm.
but they got so caught up in these other remedies.
Yeah, they were distracted by all these shiny new things.
It's like chasing the latest marketing fads and forgetting the fundamentals.
It is. It is. And I think it's a really powerful reminder for all of us to constantly evaluate what actually works. You know, are we chasing algorithm changes on social media? Or are we focusing on building those genuine relationships with our audience?
Are we prioritizing those quick wins or establishing a solid foundation for long-term success?
It's all about perspective.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that make you go,
Yeah.
Do you remember that double-nosed dog?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget that one?
That's not just a bizarre fact. You know, it's an important marketing principle.
Totally. It's all about evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah. Just like those explorers needed proof to confirm the existence of that double-nosed dog, we as marketers need to back up our claims with solid evidence.
So we're talking like testimonials, case studies, data,
all of that. Think of it as your brand's double-nosed dog, that remarkable element that grabs people's attention.
So it's that element that captures attention.
Mm-hmm. But you don't just stop there, right? You got to back it up.
Back it up.
With those proof points that build credibility and trust.
I like it. So we've got pacing, we've got proof.
Right.
Now let's add a little fun.
Mm-hmm.
Gamification.
I love it.
You know, who would have thought that parking at UC Berkeley could be a marketing lesson?
You know, it's funny, right? But it's true, that little quirky fact about Nobel Prize winners getting free parking. There is a great example of gamification at work.
And it really works. I mean,
it does.
There's actual science behind it.
Totally. It triggers dopamine release, which makes people feel good.
Yeah. And then they want to engage more.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Think about loyalty programs, interactive quizzes, challenges, all of that stuff. You know, it all taps into that desire for achievement and reward.
But we have to be careful, right? We don't want to manipulate people with cheap tricks.
Yeah. It's got to be authentic
and
aligned with your brand.
It's about creating those genuinely engaging experiences.
Yes.
That make people feel valued.
Exactly.
And speaking of value, remember the story of the art teacher who got sued for selling her students' work?
Oh, yeah. That was a tough one.
That's a reminder of the ethical considerations that we have to keep in mind.
Super important.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about transparency, informed consent, all of that.
Especially when we're dealing with things like user-generated content, testimonials.
Yeah, any kind of personal information. We've got to be incredibly mindful of how we obtain that information.
And how we use it.
Yes, exactly.
It's a wake-up call for all of us to make sure that we have clear guidelines and policies in place so that we can protect ourselves and the people that we're interacting with.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, now let's shift gears a bit, shall we?
Let's do it.
I want to talk about horror films.
Okay.
We learned that only 6 horror films have ever been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah, that's a pretty small number when you think about it, right?
Yeah. What do you think makes these films so effective at captivating audiences?
Well, I think a big part of it is how they use suspense.
Hmm.
They build up the tension.
Yeah, they got those shocking twists.
The twists.
Yeah.
And also that authentic messaging, and those
Okay.
impactful visuals that really get under your skin.
So we can take these principles and apply them to our marketing, right?
Absolutely. Think about it. Can we create campaigns that build anticipation, deliver surprises, and tell stories that resonate with our audience?
Yeah. All right, so we're tapping into those deep emotions, but we got to be mindful of that tire dust effect, right?
The tire dust effect.
The idea that
Huh?
the little decisions that we make can have a big impact.
Totally.
Especially like
that fact about tire dust being a major source of microplastics in the ocean.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like these small things
Yeah.
that we might not even think about
Right.
can have these big unintended consequences.
So as marketers, we have to be responsible, right?
Absolutely. It's about thinking about our marketing footprint and making choices that are good for our brand and for the world around us.
And this actually connects back to something else we talked about, the power of simplicity.
Simplicity, yes.
Remember those nachos?
Oh, yeah.
Named after their creator, Ignacio Nacho Anaya.
I love that story.
Yeah, just like nachos are this delicious combination of simple ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Effective marketing messages often come from straightforward concepts and clear communication.
It's about cutting through the noise
Right.
and delivering a message that's easy to understand and remember.
All right, now let's get a little cosmic here for a second.
Okay.
I want you to picture the vastness of the universe.
Whoa.
All those stars.
Yeah.
It's awe-inspiring.
They
Like-
can make you feel pretty small.
Or it can make you feel insignificant, like your brand is just this tiny speck
Mm-hmm.
in this sea of competition.
It's easy to feel lost in the crowd.
But just like stars have these unique properties that make them stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Each brand has its own light, its own unique value proposition.
Exactly. And it's about focusing on that.
Yeah.
What makes you special? What do you offer that nobody else can?
And how do we attract those right customers
Mm-hmm.
who resonate with that message?
Yeah, it's about trust,
Trust.
value, building a community around your brand.
So it's more than just broadcasting a message, right?
It is. It's about connection
Connection.
and building those meaningful relationships.
All right. And speaking of timing, we talked about the Puma RS computer shoe
Oh, yeah.
from 1986.
That was a wild one.
A running shoe that tracked runs decades before Fitbits and smartwatches even existed.
A technological marvel.
It flopped.
It did. Because the market wasn't ready.
The market wasn't ready.
People weren't obsessed with the data yet, and fitness wasn't the industry that it is today.
It's a classic example of even the best ideas can fail if the timing's off.
Absolutely. But here's the interesting thing.
What's that?
Puma re-released the shoe a few years ago.
No way!
And this time, it was a hit.
Wow.
The world finally caught up to their vision.
It's like sometimes innovation is about patience, right?
It is. It's about waiting for the world to catch up to your vision.
And it makes you wonder, what ideas that seem crazy today
Mm-hmm.
might be the norm tomorrow.
It's a great question to think about, right? What are those unconventional approaches that might just change the game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, on a more somber note,
Okay.
do you remember the man who died laughing while watching A Fish Called Wanda?
Yeah. That's a tragic story, but it's a powerful reminder of how strong emotions can be.
Yeah, and that we have to be responsible when we're using them in marketing.
Absolutely. We need to understand our audience, their values, their feelings, their motivations.
Yeah, and use that knowledge
Mm.
to create campaigns that resonate
Yes,
without being manipulative or exploitative.
exactly.
And this leads me to another really inspiring story, the one about John Parsons, who escaped from prison using only bed sheets, newspapers, and toilet paper.
Oh, what a story of resourcefulness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's amazing. He didn't let those limited resources stop him.
He saw possibilities where others saw only obstacles.
And that's such a crucial skill for marketers, especially when we're working with tight budgets.
Totally. We got to be creative, We got to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Like how?
Well, think about repurposing content. Engaging your audience with low-cost tactics like
Mhm.
contests and Q&As.
Right.
Forming strategic partnerships to expand your reach.
Yeah.
It's all about having that problem-solving mindset
Yeah.
and finding those creative solutions, just like John Parsons did.
Yeah. And speaking of finding solutions, remember that fact about pistachios being able to spontaneously combust?
Oh, yeah. That one's a little strange,
It
right?
is a bit strange.
But it's a good analogy for what can happen when brands fail to adapt and innovate.
Yeah, they just fizzle out.
They fizzle out. Exactly. So we got to be constantly evolving, finding new ways to solve problems,
Right.
and even turning limitations into advantages.
Like how? Give me an example. Well, think about that company that turned their small batch production into an exclusive selling point.
Oh,
Or the shoe company that embraced the fact that their shoes wore out quickly and marketed it as a feature for trend-conscious shoppers.
yeah. It's all about perspective.
It is. It's about challenging those assumptions and finding that fresh angle.
All right. So we're being resourceful. We're adapting. Now, who would have thought we could learn about marketing from a mime?
A mime.
Yeah. Marcel Marceau,
Oh, yeah.
the legendary mime artist. Did you know he actually used his skills to help Jewish children escape Nazi-occupied France?
I did not know that.
That's a powerful story, right?
Yeah, it is amazing.
And it shows us the power of creative, nonverbal communication.
Totally. And, in a world where everyone's shouting to be heard, sometimes the most effective way to stand out is to be silent.
Like to just let your actions speak for themselves.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about focus for a second.
Oh.
Did you know that Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in just 6 days?
6 days.
That's incredible, right?
That's amazing.
I mean, we're not endorsing his methods necessarily, but it shows what we can accomplish when we really focus.
Yeah, when you eliminate distractions and get into that flow state,
Yeah.
incredible things can happen.
It's a challenge, though.
Right.
Oh, it definitely is. To find that level of focus in today's world. But if we can do it, the rewards can be huge.
For sure.
Now, let's switch gears to a completely different cultural perspective.
Right.
In the Congo, there's this wedding tradition where the bride and groom aren't allowed to smile during the ceremony.
We know smiling at your wedding. That's so interesting.
No, right. It symbolizes the seriousness of the commitment.
Ah, I see.
But it also highlights this idea that even the smallest details can have a big impact.
Absolutely. And in marketing,
Yeah.
those details matter.
Yeah, give me an example.
Well, think about your brand's color palette, the wording of your email subject lines,
Right.
typos on your website.
Yeah, or like an inconsistent tone on social media.
Yeah. All of that contributes to the overall impression you make on your audience.
And that brings us back to Qin Shi, the Chinese emperor who lived in extreme isolation.
Oh, yes. A cautionary tale for sure.
It's a reminder that we can't afford to be isolated in today's world.
No. We got to be accessible, engaged, responsive to our audience.
So we're building relationships, having conversations, showing our human side.
Exactly.
And this reminds me of that Ace of Base story where their demo tape got stuck in a producer's cassette player.
Oh, yeah. The mere exposure effect.
Exactly. The more we're exposed to something, the more we tend to like it.
It's true.
But it's not just about brute force repetition, right?
No, it's about being strategic, about creating positive and engaging encounters that build familiarity and trust over time.
And finally, let's talk about Ken Allen, the orangutan who kept escaping from the San Diego Zoo.
Oh, I love that story.
He wasn't trying to run away.
No, he was just curious.
He wanted to explore.
He wanted to see what was out there.
And that's a great reminder for marketers. Right?
Oh, absolutely. We got to embrace that curiosity.
Yeah.
That willingness to explore, to try new things.
What are the new platforms we can explore? What are the unconventional ideas we can test?
It's about getting out of our comfort zones and seeing what's possible.
Exactly. And last but not least, we talked about General McAuliffe's iconic "That's reply."
Ah, yes. During the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah, talk about resilience.
And strategic adaptation.
In the face of incredible odds.
It's inspiring, right?
It is.
It shows us that even when things are tough, we can choose to be resilient, adapt our strategies, and find creative solutions.
So as we wrap up this first part of our recap, what are your big takeaways?
I think what's striking is how all of these seemingly unrelated stories, from ultramarathoners to double-nosed dogs to horror films, they all highlight these core marketing principles.
The importance of strategy, creativity, authenticity,
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of the human experience.
And that's what makes marketing so fascinating, right?
It is. It's about connecting with people, building relationships, and making a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely.
And we're just getting started.
We've got a whole universe of marketing lessons out there waiting to be discovered.
I can't wait to dive back in.
Me too. Stay tuned, everyone, because this wild ride is far from over.
Buckle up.
Step right up, we're diving in. Marketing tales from where to when. Curious facts that make you grin. Welcome, friends, let's begin.
It's really amazing how, stories from all these different areas like history, art, even the animal kingdom can teach us so much about marketing.
It's true. It seems like everywhere we look, there's a potential marketing lesson hiding in plain sight. So what other hidden gems have we uncovered this past month?
Well, we've talked a lot about connection and accessibility, right? But do you remember that story about the Parisians during the siege of 1590, when they had to resort to making bread out of bone dust?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one story I'd rather not relive. But I see where you're going with this. It's about resourcefulness, right?
Exactly. Imagine yourself as a marketer in that situation. Limited resources, incredibly high stakes. It forces you to think differently, to be creative, and find solutions using whatever you have available.
It's like those constraints can actually spark innovation. Instead of feeling limited, we can use those limitations as fuel for creativity.
Exactly. So next time you hit a roadblock in your marketing efforts, channel that Parisian spirit. Maybe skip the bone bread part, but definitely embrace that ingenuity.
Noted. Now let's talk about a different kind of resourcefulness. Remember John Parsons, the guy who escaped from prison using bed sheets, newspapers, and toilet paper?
Oh, yeah. What a story. A true testament to human ingenuity and determination.
Absolutely. He didn't let those limited resources stop him. He saw opportunity where others saw obstacles.
And that's a vital skill for marketers, especially when budgets are tight. We need to repurpose content, utilize low-cost strategies, and get creative with our resources.
Like those brands that have mastered user-generated content. They're essentially getting their audience to create marketing materials for them.
Exactly. Or consider companies that create engaging social media campaigns using humor and cleverness without needing big budget production. It's all about finding those smart and resourceful solutions.
So we're being scrappy, adaptable, and thinking outside the box. What other lessons have we learned on this wild marketing ride?
Well, we've discussed protecting our secret sauce, those unique aspects that make a brand stand out. Remember those Venetian glassmakers who went to extreme lengths to guard their trade secrets?
Oh yeah, imprisoning families to keep those techniques under wraps. They took brand protection to a whole new level.
It does seem a bit extreme, but it emphasizes a critical point. In a competitive market, having a unique selling proposition, something that truly differentiates you, is priceless.
Think about brands with a distinct visual style, like Glossier's minimalism, or a unique brand voice like MailChimp's playful tone. It's instantly recognizable and builds a strong brand identity.
Precisely. It's about developing those aspects that make a brand memorable and desirable, while continuously innovating to stay ahead of the game.
Okay, let's revisit Qin Ershi, the Chinese emperor who lived in extreme isolation. Why does his story keep resurfacing in our marketing conversations?
Because it serves as a cautionary tale. We can't afford to be isolated in today's interconnected world. We need to be accessible, engaged, and responsive to our audience.
Exactly. Brands that excel on social media, for instance, they're not just broadcasting messages. They're actively participating in conversations, responding to comments, and building real relationships with their followers.
It's all about fostering a sense of community and making people feel valued and heard.
And that brings us back to the mere exposure effect we talked about with the Ace of Base story. It's not about relentlessly repeating the same message. It's about strategically creating positive, genuine encounters that build familiarity and trust over time.
It's like planting seeds and carefully nurturing them. Those connections need time and care to blossom into something meaningful.
Now let's talk about the importance of curiosity. Do you remember Ken Allen, the orangutan who constantly escaped from the San Diego Zoo?
Oh, I love that story. It wasn't about seeking freedom, but about satisfying his curiosity, his thirst for exploration and new experiences.
And that's such a powerful message for marketers, right? We need to embrace that same sense of wonder and exploration.
Absolutely. What new platforms can we explore? What out-of-the-box ideas can we test? What might we learn if we dare to step outside our comfort zones?
It's about approaching our work with a sense of adventure and a willingness to try new things.
Exactly. And speaking of adventure, let's touch upon General McAuliffe's famous nuts reply during the Battle of the Bulge.
A single word that encapsulated resilience, defiance, and strategic thinking in the face of overwhelming adversity.
It's a potent reminder for marketers to remain steadfast even when facing challenges, to adapt, dig deep, and never surrender our goals.
It's about having the guts to say no to distractions, stay laser-focused on what truly matters, and trust our instincts.
So reflecting on these incredible and diverse stories, what resonates most with you?
I'm struck by the sheer variety of inspiration. Who knew we could glean valuable marketing insights from ultramarathon runners, double-nosed dogs, art thieves, mime artists, and even a curious orangutan?
It just goes to show that inspiration can be found in the most unexpected places if we're open to it.
And that's what makes Marketing Gone Wild so exciting. It's about pushing boundaries, questioning assumptions, and uncovering those unexpected connections that ignite new ideas and lead to breakthrough results.
It's about approaching marketing with a sense of wonder, creativity, and a readiness to embrace the unknown.
It's about recognizing that marketing is more than just a job. It's an adventure.
And this adventure is far from over. There's a whole world of marketing magic still out there to discover.
So join us as we continue our journey exploring the wild and wonderful world of Marketing Gone Wild. We can't wait to see what we uncover next.
You know, we've really gone deep on this journey exploring Marketing Gone Wild.
It's fascinating to me how stories from different eras and different parts of the world can have such a strong connection to what marketers face today.
It's true.
We've seen how history and art,
Psychology.
yeah, even a bit of
Zoology.
proffer insights.
Yeah, it can really illuminate the path.
Yeah,
For those of us who are willing to kind of,
think outside the box.
step outside those traditional boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of stepping outside the box, we haven't talked about that 639-year-long organ piece by John Cage.
Oh, yeah.
As slow as possible,
That's a good one.
which is still playing out right now in a church in Germany.
That's right.
It's a pretty wild concept, isn't it?
It is.
This musical marathon that's unfolding.
Over centuries.
It makes you think, right?
It does.
About how obsessed we are with instant gratification in today's world.
And I think in marketing, it's a reminder that building those lasting relationships with customers takes time and consistency.
You can't just focus on the quick wins and the viral moments, You got to cultivate those connections, nurture them, and let them grow organically.
It's about creating something that endures, right?
It is.
Just like that organ piece that will continue to play for generations to come.
That's a powerful image.
Now,
Yeah.
sticking with this idea of long-term vision for a moment, do you remember those Venetian glassmakers
Oh, yeah.
who went to such extreme lengths to protect their trade secrets?
I mean, imprisoning families.
I know.
It's pretty intense.
It sounds crazy, but it underscores this idea that in a competitive market, having a unique selling proposition, that thing that sets you apart, is absolutely invaluable.
It's your secret sauce.
Your secret sauce.
You got to protect it.
You got to protect it.
And you got to keep innovating so that it stays fresh and relevant.
Yeah, so we're talking about identifying those elements that make your brand truly unique and desirable.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's a distinctive visual style.
A compelling brand voice.
Right.
An innovative approach to customer service,
Yeah, it's all about finding what sets you apart and constantly evolving and improving on it.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked about Qin Shi, the isolated emperor, a few times already.
We have.
His story really serves as a cautionary tale for marketers, doesn't it?
It does.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah, we can't afford to be isolated and out of touch.
We can't hide behind a curtain. We got to be accessible and engaged and responsive to our audience.
Be present.
Be present.
In the conversation.
And this reminds me of the Ace of Base story,
Oh, yeah. That demo tape.
where their demo tape gets stuck in a producer's cassette player.
And it leads to their big break.
It's the mere exposure effect in action, right? It's not about bombarding people with your message, but it's about creating those positive encounters that build familiarity and trust over time.
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
It is. And it ties into another one of my favorite stories, the one about Ken Allen, the orangutan.
Oh, he was a character.
I love that story. He kept escaping from the San Diego Zoo, not because he wanted to be free, but because he was so curious.
That's right.
He wanted to explore, he wanted to learn. And for marketers, embracing that same spirit of curiosity is absolutely essential.
What can we learn from venturing outside our comfort zones?
Right.
What new platforms can we explore?
What are the unconventional ideas that we can experiment with?
That's where the real magic happens.
It does. And finally, we can't forget General McAuliffe and his iconic nuts reply during the Battle of the Bulge.
Talk about resilience.
Talk about standing your ground
And strategic adaptation.
in the face of overwhelming adversity.
It's a powerful reminder to stay strong, to adapt our strategies, and to never give up on our goals.
It's about trusting our instincts and finding a way to succeed, even when things get tough.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive into marketing gone wild, it's remarkable how all these stories from different times and places converge on these key principles: strategy, creativity, authenticity, adaptability.
And above all, I think it's about understanding the human experience.
That's the heart of it all.
You know, connecting with people on a deeper level,
Building those relationships.
creating something meaningful,
And having the courage to push the boundaries.
to embrace the unexpected.
To never stop exploring.
And so, as we bring this episode to a close, we want to thank you for joining us on this wild ride,
We hope you've been inspired
challenged
and maybe even a little bit entertained.
by the stories that we've shared.
And we encourage you to take those lessons and apply them to your own marketing adventures.
Stay curious, stay creative, and keep it wild.
Until next time.
Step right up, we're diving in. Marketing tales from where to when. Curious facts that make you grin. Welcome, friends, let's begin. From lost campaigns to clever schemes, broken dreams and wild extremes, the lessons learned through all extremes. Truth is stranger than it seems. Oh, it's the deep dive you gotta hear. Marketing tales from far and near. Lessons wrapped in laughter clear. Oh yeah, we're taking the rear. Marketing myths and legends bold. Stories better than gold. Every tale is retold in ways you've never been told. From the quirky ads gone haywire to campaigns that catch fire. Every story to admire. Tune in and let's aspire. Oh, it's the deep dive you gotta hear. Marketing tales from far and near. Lessons wrapped in laughter clear. Oh yeah, we're taking the rear. From lost campaigns to clever schemes, broken dreams and wild extremes, the lessons learned through all extremes. Truth is stranger than it seems. Oh, it's the deep dive you gotta hear. Marketing tales from far and near. Lessons wrapped in laughter clear. Oh yeah, we're taking the rear. Oh yeah, we're taking the rear. Oh, it's the deep dive you gotta hear. Marketing tales from far and near. Lessons wrapped in laughter clear. Oh yeah, we're taking the rear.